Hi, I'm Anisha Padukone. I'm joined by my co-host Dr. Shyam Bhat.
A lot of people who experience stress, they actually never come to a therapist. They show up at the dentist's office.
And welcome to another episode of Live, Love, Laugh Lecture Series Unplugged. Today we're joined by actor, author, and one of India's most influential content creators with over 18 million followers across social media handles.
How much time I spend on the internet or how I surf the internet to make sure that it doesn't surf me.
We are delighted to have Prajakta Koli with us to talk about authenticity.
I think in the beginning, a lot of me was play acting.
The balance between the online and offline self.
Then I chose I don't want to go and fake it
Right.
online.
Yeah, mental health and much more. Okay, so Prajakta, in this segment, I'm going to read out a few prompts which are common well-being and self-care tips. And I want you to respond with 3 options. Like, subscribe and unfollow. Okay. So like is a habit that you admire or you want to adopt. Okay. Subscribe is something that you actively practice and follow. And unfollow, of course, is something that you want to avoid or you want to let go of.
Got it.
And we have these 3 things that you can pick up. So each one represents one of those.
Okay.
And Shyam, feel free to weigh in.
Sure.
But also at the end, if you can pick your top 2 or 3 things that all of us and the audiences should ideally be subscribing to.
Okay, let's go.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there are about 10, 11 of them. I'm going to go one by one. First one is exercising at least thrice a week. Nice.
100%.
Nice.
And you know, for me, like the physical aspect of it is just a bonus. I think my motivation is only like just the serotonin and the endorphins that come with it. And how your day just changes.
Great. I love that because I'm very similar.
Right?
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. Awesome. So, good start to that.
Okay.
Keeping your phone on D&D for the first hour of the day or the initial part of your day.
I want to do that. I want to do that. I have moved to my Kindle though. Like I will wake up and I will immediately move to my Kindle. But I got married a few months ago and I moved out of my parents' house after living with them for 31 years. So now the minute I wake up, it's them. Like I want to message them, I want to call them, I want to get on. So that is why I'm a little stuck. But I think like the first hour should be away.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Using humor to deal with emotions. Or using humor as a way to deal with emotions.
Only humor and not dealing with it any other way?
Other ways also, but humor as well.
Then I think in general, or maybe this also. In general, I feel like it's if it's one of the ways to deal that has been helping you to make light of the situation and then eventually kind of working on it, then sure. But obviously not like discarding it just as jokes all the time.
Sure.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So there's a lot of theory about how we manage uncomfortable feelings, and these are called defense mechanisms, right? The way in which we shield ourselves from the pain of difficult feelings. And humor is considered a very mature defense mechanism. But like she said, if you're only using humor and you're not processing it, that's an issue. But otherwise, humor is a great way to go through, to manage difficulties and to see the light-hearted kind of aspects of life. And a lot of people, I mean, you talk to stand-up comics, where does comedy come from? It comes from pain. A lot of art also comes from pain, and actually maybe art is transmuting pain into something beautiful, which includes humor,
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Okay, seeking help when you're feeling overwhelmed.
All the time, 100%. Now it could even be just like a phone call to a friend or to a parent or to your therapist.
Yeah, it's something to be very grateful for.
I am,
for
100%.
all of us. So. Okay, setting boundaries with compassion and not guilt.
But you learn it after a while. Like it takes
Is it something
you a while.
you want to do, or is it something
It's
you're able to do?
something that I have just about learned how to do for myself.
Yeah.
I think in the past 2 to 3 years. I have always kind of struggled with trying to fit in, trying to be liked, not being confrontational at all. Like I will always be on a back foot the minute there are feelings involved, where I'll be like, it's fine, it's okay, it's never mind. So it reached a point where I realized that I wasn't being very kind to myself in a lot of these encounters that I was having. So I did learn it after kind of utne dhakke khane ke baad. But I did. So I guess, yeah, I do that now, but after a while, I learned it.
I don't think we're born with that ability to set boundaries, because when we're young, naturally we're hardwired to, being dependent and so on. And I say, especially for people who are who want to please people, or, who don't want to be disliked, it becomes harder.
Yeah.
But again, there's a balance, isn't there? I don't think it's like an end. Like you reach a place and you say, okay, I got my boundaries set. It's always going to be a dynamic process. Because it's always a gray area, right? Where do you reach out and you're uncomfortable, but you do something for someone, versus saying, no, look, I've got to say no because I've got to protect myself. And it really comes, I think, from knowing yourself. And that can only come with experience and time. So I think
also, every encounter is so different. You could have your boundaries set, and then you'll have a new kind of encounter that you didn't expect.
Exactly.
Or a new kind of expectation from you. Or a new kind of experience that you didn't know how to deal with, and then you set that boundary going forward. So I think it just keeps evolving.
No, as a therapist, I often see many people, and especially in our culture, we've grown up with a fair amount of, I would say, guilt and shame. It's not unusual. And in any culture that actually values community has a tendency to feel guilt. If we look at an individualistic society like the West, they actually oftentimes, they set a lot of boundaries, in fact, maybe too rigid boundaries. Not maybe, definitely quite rigid boundaries in many instances. I think for our culture, it's been a learning for especially, I would say, younger generation, where, this doesn't come easily. It's not necessarily part of our culture. And so what I see is sometimes people go from not setting boundaries to then, for a while, setting very rigid boundaries. And
Until
they usually go through a
balance.
phase, and during that rigid boundary setting phase, often it's difficult because they kind of people find it difficult to adjust, and often they go overboard even. But that's okay, because you've got to really understand how to protect yourself before finding that balance.
Okay, last few. Journaling before bedtime. You spoke a little bit about that. Or journaling at any point of time.
I would like to pick it back up as often as I used to. I think through the toughest, scariest times for me, the one thing that got me through, other than obviously the support of my family and everyone, I think was my journal.
Okay, last one, and this is slightly tougher.
Okay.
Or maybe the toughest that you've got so far. Okay. Complete social media detox.
I wouldn't do it for me.
Because you can't?
Because A, it's my job.
Yeah,
It's
what I meant by
what pays my bills. B, one of the things that I completely lucked out in is that the team that I started with, so One Digital Entertainment is the company that got me to the circuit. So there's Gurpreet, Sudeep, Karthik's here, sort of. When I started off, because they had been in this business for a while before me, they kind of वो orientation मेरी हो गई थी in understanding what I'm getting myself into. So I remember having a very long meeting with the team where they told me, they're like, see, hate is going to be a very important part and it's going to stay. You're going to get a lot of different kinds of feedback. Privacy is going to be an issue. So a lot of these things I actually worked on before things started going well for me online. So in my head, how much time I spend on the internet or how I surf the internet to make sure that it doesn't surf me, where it doesn't command how my day goes.
I like what you said. I like to surf the internet so that it doesn't. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, because I'll be very honest. I will never get it when people are like, I can't do this. Like, it's too much. And I was like, why you reached that point? But your body and your mind, I'm sure, kept telling you from time to time, right? Like, we know, okay, this is doom scrolling now, this is going nowhere, what are you doing? Put it down, pick up a hobby. I said, why haven't you listened then? Why did you wait for things to get so wrong that now you need a complete detox, which I think is tougher. Right. It's easier to put those things, and these platforms make it very easy for you. Like, you can restrict people, you can mute people, you can block people. Nobody, and I've said this all the time, you don't get to come on my phone and turn my mood off. Like, if there's anything that doesn't bring me joy or doesn't help me get better, I'm not going to let it come to my feet.
And I really want to explore this idea of what's authentic. What is the real self? Who are we really, especially when you're in a profession where a lot of you is shared online. Are there aspects of you that come across on social media that you feel I'm not totally connected with that aspect of myself? Or do you feel the aspects of yourself that you're not able to communicate or show on, communicate on Instagram or
I
social
think in the
media?
beginning, a lot of me was play acting, because उस time पे तो यही था ना, that if you're putting yourself out there, तो if you're going on camera, you have to have makeup. If you're going and speaking in English, it has to be spoken the way. And I used to watch a lot of Superwoman content. You know Lily Singh?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've been a huge fan of hers, and she was the god of YouTube when I started doing YouTube. It was her, it was Just Rain. I idolized these people, and I was like, okay, this is how it's done. So I would obviously try to speak like her, and I would try to be like her, because I was very, very influenced by her content. My content was also very similar to the genre of content that she was doing. So now when I look back, there's a lot that I did do. But as time passed, I think those layers kind of like shed one by one till I found a comfortable spot where I feel confident, and to be liked, I don't necessarily have to be unkind to myself or be unfair to myself when I put myself out there.
So over time it became, it got to a point where you're very comfortable, where all these layers that you were not sort of thing, and you found your voice, so to speak.
I did.
Which I think is an important journey for any artist, to find your
100%.
voice. But it's also an important journey for human beings in general. Because I feel like, we are living in a world where, because of social media and in general, there's a little bit of this performative quality, where I would see people in therapy who come in and their initial complaint is, I am exhausted, I can't smile anymore, and I don't know why I'm smiling, but I keep smiling. Sometimes they won't even be aware of their pain when you're talking to them. They're now narrating a sad story, but a smile is coming.
Wow. It's almost like automated.
It's automatic that you smile.
Social media also kind of has over time become a place where you find your tribe. Like I remember when talking about depression and mental health, this was I think in 2015 or 16, where suddenly in my comment section I would see people use the word depressed and anxiety a lot more than I had seen before. And that is what actually got me to think about. I said, why has this suddenly become a conversation? But the other side of the coin was that what it also did was it started very active discussions about mental health on social media, where people found a place where they could go and speak without being judged, where they found a place where they would find other people going through similar things and then discussing it with other people.
No, I agree with you. I think it makes obviously it's how we use it, and it has allowed people to connect with people and to know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think where I'm coming from is that how do we retain a sense of authenticity both on social media and in life, and particularly with you actually, for you as a creator. Do you feel like compelled to presenting a certain energy or certain persona because so many people know you on social media?
I do, actually. There are times when I do. But again, because I've been doing this for over a decade now, I found a way around it where I know that if I am going through something, I'm going to choose to not make posts. I'm going to choose to not be online. I'm going to take that time off to figure out how I want to, because then I chose I don't want to go and fake it online. Now that's a choice that I've made for myself. I also know creators who actually go to social media, like you said, for that respite. But they're like, oh my God, I'm having a tough day, but I know that if I put a video out or I put a picture out, I'm going to get those likes and I'm going to get those comments, and it's going to make me feel better for now at least. That's a slippery slope, obviously. But there are these two ways of looking at it, right?
Yeah, it really sounds like it needs a lot of self-awareness and the ability to center yourself, because you have likes, so many likes coming in, some people I'm sure there's also negativity, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Is that hard to deal with now, or is it harder to deal with, or gets easier, the negativity, and are you indifferent to sort of online negativity, or?
See, this was again one of the things that I was warned about before I started off. I remember Gurpreet telling me that he's like, you're going to get hate and you're going to get criticism. it'll be very evident what hate is. Which one of this is hate and which one of this is criticism. Like anything that doesn't help me get better or doesn't objectively tell me how I can do something better or improve myself is hate. And because I went in expecting it, when it came for the first time, it didn't throw me off.
Yeah.
So it didn't unnerve you or make you feel
I went in prepared. And I think today also, if anyone that's entering social media kind of goes prepared into it, you could be anyone and you could be doing God's work and you could be doing the most noble things in life.
Right.
But there is someone who's going to come up and tell you that you're not doing it right. Another aspect of it is that everything that I have kind of managed to do in my career so far has only and only been because of my audience. I understand that every opportunity that comes to me today stems from those 8-9 years that I put on YouTube, stems from the content bank that I have built, stems from the community that I made because of that content. So today, everything I do is because they kind of happened to in some way become my safety net. So in my head, if I'm spending any time of my day reacting to hate or wondering how to deal with hate, I also think it's unfair to them because hate didn't get me anywhere when it was coming in. But everything that has come my way has come because of my community. So I'd much rather spend time on that.
I think the underlying theme here, Shyam, is that one is, Prajakta was fortunate to have an amazing team around her that prepared her for that. And therefore she knew what was coming, and everyone doesn't sort of have that. What do you think is, let's say, if I'm, 20-year-old using, social media today, and what are some of those guardrails that I should, try and put in place for myself?
Yeah, I think there are lots of important learnings and insights from Prajakta's story and from what you've experienced. And I think that we can draw from that, anyone watching can learn from that, which is when you think about your story, and how you prepared yourself, a couple of key things, right? One is, as you said, a support system. That is that her life entirely was not about social media. Even when you were embarking on it as a profession, there were networks of real people, real relationships that are really vitally important. And I think anyone entering social media, as you also said, if you're going to enter that from a place of feeling bad and then, you're just doom scrolling and just having empty connections, that's going to make it worse. So you really want to make sure that your real life, as opposed to the virtual life, although both are real, which is more real, I don't know. But the human connections, right? The real human connections, you got to have that. I think the other thing that you also talked about is sort of centering yourself around either certain values or certain purpose. And of course, if someone is not doing it professionally, they would still have if you do it mindlessly, you engage with social media mindlessly, you have no agenda, you're literally scratching an itch, which is the way a lot of people scroll. That is a problem because you're not paying attention to why you're doing it. It's not, in that sense, I agree with you, it's not the medium, but it's how we're using the medium and what we're doing with it. It's really important to have a good sense of self, good self-esteem, and engage with it appropriately, which is it's not compensating for deficiencies in your own life. I think I'm starting to realize why you're so successful. You've got a couple of qualities that I don't think are usually go together always, which is you're entering into a space where there is a lot of immediate reward or punishment in terms of getting likes or so on. At the same time, it sounds like you're an individual who has the ability to have what we call delayed gratification, meaning you don't expect the reward to come right away. You're willing to persist and do the work for a long time, even in a medium where I think a lot of people would expect immediate validation. I think that's a rare combo, when you were, especially at a younger age.
I also think that came from a place of me not having a job. You know what I mean? Like when I failed at being a radio jockey, I was so disappointed in myself because I always grew up this very, very confident child, and my parents would feel very, very proud of me. And then I became that, and I was so terrible at my job. I got fired from my show. I hated going to office. I hated being a radio intern. Although now, in hindsight, I did learn a lot in the radio office that I ended up using as a creator. But at that point, I was just so disappointed in myself. Where I was like, I don't believe I was so incredibly overconfident that I didn't kind of make myself learn anything or train myself for anything else because I was so sure this is going to work, and now this is not working. So now whatever this is, I don't know what to put a name, but it has to work.
So Prajakta, you've spoken a lot about anxiety. Can you share a bit more about that? About anxiety, is that something you've experienced, and what's a tough day look like for you?
I have. Very recently, I found out that like you have different nervous tics at different times. That I have this like time lapse of me. So I wrote a book recently, which came out in Feb. It's called Too Good to Be True. It's a romance novel. And I have many time lapses of me working. And after a point, I realized that when I'm writing, I'm biting the inside of my cheek. So by the end of the book, like the insides of my cheek were raw.
Oh, wow.
Because that was my thing. And I didn't know what it was till that happened. Like, this is a thing that I didn't know what it was. And then I spoke to a friend, and she was like, okay, maybe that's your nervous tic. And that's when I started paying more attention to days when I feel that, days when I feel like I'm grinding my teeth a little bit more, or I feel like I'm not, for me, like if I'm doing this, or if I'm like biting things or whatever. And that's how I started paying a lot more attention on what are the days that kind of cause this, and when do I feel this and stuff like that. And how a hard day is, it's pretty regular, I think. Like this morning I woke up not feeling great, and I have no particular reason for it. That's what I was talking to Shyam. I was like, I drank 2 liters of water, okay. Like I've had home cooked food. I worked out yesterday. Like I finished writing. I did everything on my to-do list. And I don't know why I've still not slept okay and woken up like that. Mercury is not even in retrograde, so I don't know what's happening. And he was like, that's okay, maybe you're having a slow morning, you know what. And then I spoke to my mom. I did like an ice dip, and then I had coffee, and I was feeling great. So I feel like it's just, it's like any other day, just a little tougher to get through. But I found my way. I depend a lot on my workouts for this.
So you became aware that there was the stress or anxiety, and you were chewing your
the
nails
insides
and
of
teeth.
my cheek.
Because grinding teeth is actually a very not uncommon. A lot of people who experience stress, they actually never come to a therapist. They show up at the dentist's office with jaw pain and wearing off the teeth. It's
a lot of people
common.
also just do this, leg shaking.
So anxiety, you can think of anxiety or stress as energy that you're kind of displacing.
Yeah.
So you're trying.
Is that what those stress balls are for?
Yeah, it's that nervous, that energy you can sort of take it out.
It also affects my gut.
Yeah.
Of course.
Like, I know on days when my gut's like all over the place, I'm like, okay, something's not right.
I mean, the mind and body, and this is a big part of my work, which is the connection of mind and body, and really they are one unit.
Yeah.
And so whatever feelings we're experiencing, obviously we're experiencing it in the body, and anxiety can affect any part of the body from head to toe. So have you stopped the nail biting, or you keep an eye on that? Is that tells you how anxious you are? You use it as a
bite them a little bit. But no, I think it's been a lot better now. I also think that one of the things that I want to work on is that a lot of times I don't let anything become a big deal in my mind. Even the wins, even the losses, even the changes. Like, it was a huge deal for me to get married and move out of my parents' house. Because for 31 years, I never moved away to study.
Right.
I've lived with them all my life. We've been a nuclear family. And so for me, this was a huge change. But because I was so scared of it, I didn't kind of let it become a huge thing in my head. So it was very like, ho gaya, kar liya, shaadi ho gayi, chal nikal niकल. So I remember after my wedding also, I didn't even, those typical things that everyone does, ki sab baiठte hain gaadi mein and okay, bye. I didn't even do that. I said, we all go, I'm going to go to the spa. So I've gone to the resort and I didn't even leave till everyone had emptied the resort and stuff like that. I think that came to catch up this month. Because I hadn't kind of dealt with that for a while. Like, it's chill in my mind. So I feel like one thing I need to work on is actually process things at the magnitude that they are, so that they don't come, like they don't sneak up on me later. So I think this week has been a lot of that.
But that's again great insight that what we really want to strive for is equanimity, which is, don't go too high, too low.
Yeah.
It's also, like you said, you bring your attention to the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of answer to our life's problems, is bring your full attention to what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And sort of merge with the process of doing. let go of past and future. And
I've also learned that I get overwhelmed very quickly, and that kind of dictates how I choose to react to a situation, and a lot of times that has gotten me into even more of a situation.
Like how? Overwhelmed meaning?
Like, I'll always have a very emotional response to everything. Logic kind of takes a while to get into place. Like, I know that the logical way to react to this would be this, but I'm feeling this, so I'm going to go with how I'm feeling. But when I take those 2 hours to do lottery, I was going to say, to do pottery, laundry.
Pottery is like lottery, from whatever I've seen of it.
It is. So if I take, every time I reach a point where I'm like, okay, what do I do, or I'm having a tough day, when I take those 2 hours to kind of disconnect to do pottery, and then come back, I approach the question in a very different place in my mind. So it kind of helps me be more objective.
Tell me though, if you ever felt that you needed therapy, would you feel inhibited in any kind of?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm also very grateful to social media for that, because now again it's one of those things, right, where I have so many friends of mine who will go to therapy, and I've seen it change, where it went from the same friend telling me that, hey, I have a thing tomorrow, so can we like not meet, to then telling me like, no, listen, Wednesday can't do, I have therapy, so then we can do it on Thursday. So that, even though
I see. So they're sharing openly.
Openly sharing, and I've seen that happen with not just one person, with a lot of people around my life, not just in my circles, but in my parents' circles.
You spoke about a little bit earlier on the how you were not necessarily very comfortable with your body, and there was a lot of validation that was required. Can you just talk a little bit about that, please?
I always wanted to be on screen. I always wanted to be a performer. I always wanted to be out there. But I didn't have anyone that I would look at and be like, oh my God, if they can make it, I can make it. We always grew up with these unrealistic standards of how to look and how to be and what color to be and how tall to be and what body to be, and that it kind of throws you off, where suddenly then that becomes your focus when you are putting yourself out there. And I think that's what happened with me, where my need to speak in an accent, or my need to put makeup on even though I didn't know how to put makeup on myself. So in that time, when I think about it, I'd much rather look like that than go with no makeup. You know what I mean? So I think that is where a lot of my insecurities came from in the beginning. I was also a very, very skinny child growing up. My parents never kind of shamed me for it, but everyone else did. Like everyone around me always made me very aware of the fact that I'm very skinny. And that kind of stayed with me for a long time. I myself shamed myself a lot, where I was like, okay, I'm not going to look good in this and I'm not going to look good in that. I think that's where my need to also be liked and look a certain way came. But again, it was only after coming to the internet and putting myself out there and seeing that the only thing that's working is my content. What is working is my writing. I started seeing comments that said things like, listen, why do you put so much makeup? Like, you look so much better without the makeup. Or we like seeing you. We love the fact that you're sitting in your room in your pajamas and you're making this content piece, and it feels like we know you. And that kind of helped me change a lot of my perception about how, although in my head this was the only way to do it, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. So I think that is also something that the internet gave me.
Is there something you would like to tell your 19-year-old or 18, 19-year-old self when you started out, having been through that journey and obviously, doing it for such a long time and doing it so well?
I don't think so. I think I wouldn't want to change anything, because everything is, like, every domino is placed linked so close to each other that if even an inch of difference would have made the course of my life very, very different. And I wouldn't want it any differently than I do right now. So I wouldn't want to change anything. I don't think so. I mean, if there's anything, I feel like I should be a little more unhinged like her. Like, I was a lot less inhibited. I was a lot less guarded when I was 19, 20. Like, I could use a little bit of that.
Yeah, the confidence of youth when we're young, much younger.
The bliss of ignorance.
The bliss of ignorance, yeah. But you miss that sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
That feeling of like, I don't care, just going ahead with
Like,
things.
I feel like now you know too much.
You know too much, yeah. The burden of knowledge.
Yeah, you know too much. I understand like the nitty-gritties of my job and the business side of things, and I've for some reason started understanding what numbers look like and what it does, and I didn't know that then, so I would actually just jump and be like, "Chal, we'll figure." A lot.
Is that where you think some of the initial, we spoke about taking a risk and just sort of, getting into this career? Maybe some of that came from there?
100%.
It's a biological thing that when people are younger, they, especially I'm talking about teenage years, there's a tendency to think of ourselves as immortal, almost. You don't think of mortality. You're like, I'm going to live forever.
Yeah.
And, some old dude somewhere is never, that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
And so you have, nature has created it like this, that a species has to move forward, right? And so the young always take more risk, do things differently, rebel against the set ways of doing things, and then the brain matures, right? By age 26, there's something called the prefrontal cortex, which takes that long to fully develop.
Okay.
Which is why, by the way, car insurance premiums are much higher when you're under 26, 27, because accident rates are higher because we're impulsive.
Oh.
But obviously, that's not a bad thing necessarily, because that level of confidence and take on the world, and like you said, even you went to the radio station, some guy who's been there 30 years, you're like, I know better than you.
Yeah.
That confidence is part of the biology, and I think it's, with the right talent and the right opportunity leads to great things. But then what happens is somewhere around 26, 27, 28, you sort of wake up to certain realities. Boom, life hits you. And then you're like, whoa, hang on, maybe I'm not immortal, maybe there is risk, maybe I need to be a little careful. And that's when we long for those days. We start off unashamed of ourselves. We have been taught to feel shame. No baby is born ashamed, right? And along the way, we get experiences, and then we go back into some corner of ourselves, and we sometimes look back. But then we move forward, and you come full circle, where again you're fully yourself, again you're fully, totally uninhibitedly yourself, unapologetically yourself, but this time it is tempered with knowledge and compassion.
And so you have money.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully.
In your 30s, this is one of the things that everyone's like, do you miss your 20s? I said, are you crazy? I was impulsive. I didn't know much. Like, everything was the end of the world for me. I was broke.
But this is why that popular saying, which took me a long time to appreciate it, which is youth is often wasted on the young. This idea that you have youth, but there are a lot of things, sometimes you look back and say, I wish I knew that when I was younger.
Yeah. But you know what I also miss about being like 19, 20? I remember every emotion would be so like exaggerated. Everything would be the end of the world. Like this friend, my best friend in the world. This person can't stand this person. This heartbreak, ab to meri shaadi nahi hogi, I'm going to die alone. Like everything was such a high.
Yeah.
And then eventually, then you reach a point where now I just realize where I'm just like,
it's all good.
It's all good.
Is that good though? Is that?
I mean, it brings a lot of peace.
Yeah.
I also like that it doesn't throw me off center every now and then, because of the nature of my job, everything is very volatile. Now it's working out, now it's not. Now it's
You have a lot of highs and lows in the job.
Yeah, and very in quick succession.
Yeah.
Also unpredictable.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so just to sort of wrap up the whole conversation, Prajakta, what message do you have for young people who've tuned in or listening in from a mental health perspective or otherwise? What do you have to share with them?
I think just things that I have learned. Otherwise, I mean, of course, all the work that has been happening here will be a great pointer towards what the right practices are. But I think what worked for me is that you have to be very, very kind to yourself. I don't think there's another way around it. Be kind to yourself when you're doing well. Be kind to yourself when you're not doing so well as well. I am my loudest cheerleader. I'm always in my corner. I read this quote that said, the me inside me is the me I will be, which was on a bus or a t-shirt somewhere. But it spoke to me because there's always this voice in my head that knows what the right thing to do is and what the right way to do is. And I don't always listen to that voice. But as long as the conversation with that voice is healthy and kind, I think you'll find your way. For mental, you need to put like processes in place. Like for example, working out is very, 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 very important. Yeah. There is no two ways about it. Having that safe circle of people around you is important. Now that circle can have your therapist, it can have your doctors, it can have whatever it is that helps you feel comforted and supported. And what works for me, for my mental health, is that I love my job. I absolutely love it, every aspect of it. I love waking up every day. So I think doing what you love doing, doing what brings you joy, which I know is easier said than done, but striving to make that happen, I think it brings a lot of joy and health.
That's awesome. And I, firstly, thank you for making the time and coming on this podcast.
You.
And I think I just want to summarize a few key things that I've heard from what you've shared with us today, which are, I think, important for everybody to sort of recognize that these could really help mental health. One is just like you said, you have a deep engagement with what you do. I think meaning and purpose is really important for mental health. And you're right, sometimes it takes a while to find what's meaningful and purposeful to us. And sometimes people wait to find purpose, but I think what you've talked about today is start with what draws you, what interests you, start doing it, get into it, and then that becomes a path to purpose and meaning. So I think that's really important. The second thing I think that's important that I want to underline is what you said earlier about finding that center where you understand that sometimes things can go well and sometimes things can go badly, and we don't have control over the outcomes. We come back to what we can do and find that balance without going too high or too low. When you reflected about how we are when we are younger and things seem devastating, and then you realize, hey, hang on, things always keep changing, but somewhere I always find my center, and I think that's really important. And of course, the point about having a circle of support, friends, family, people you can lean on and trust, that's also extremely important.
Yeah.
Look, I was very clear about what I wanted, and I was doing this for XYZ reason. I think that's a lot of clarity, self-awareness and honesty, which is really, I think, refreshing and very good for mental health. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having me.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more such interesting conversations.